Hi, my loves. Welcome back. I'm so excited you are here. Amazing. Yay. And don't mind my little wet hair situation, the little wet rat situation. My intuition was just telling me I had to take a little skinny dip in my saltwater pool before hopping on to talk about intuition. I was feeling a little low energy, so it's like skinny dip, and I made myself some cacao. And can you see? Oh, it's a little hard there. Here we go. We are doing the damn thing. And I'm feeling much more alive and also more connected to my heart, more connected to my intuition, much more energetically open. And this is the space that I really need to be in order to teach or talk about intuition, period. So happy to be back. Welcome to our first set of modules, officially Intuition 101, baby. Cleanse to connect. And first and foremost, let's talk about what intuition is. And before we do that, close down your eyes and just take a deep breath into your belly. Exhale, release. Allowing yourself to ground into the space, to come back to a state of presence, and to open your heart to receive these teachings, and allowing yourself to come back to your own sense of discernment and what is true for you with each and every word that I speak. Deep breath in and exhale. Beautiful. Amazing. So it's really important to set the stage with that. And now that we've done that, we can move into the teachings. So intuition. All right. It is the unique wisdom that lives within each and every one of us. It is the way that God, source, divinity, the universe communicates directly to us in the way that only we could ever understand. It is the language that is meant for us to decipher. The language that I am spoken to is going to be different than the language that is being spoken to you. And each and every person has their unique intuitive senses, their intuitive volume knobs that we can turn up in different ways to activate different channels, different like radio stations. And I'll talk about this when we talk about the four clairs in the way in which we receive. But what intuition is the messages that come through us. And that can come through in our bodies, that can come through in our minds, that can come through in different chakra centers. And it's about tuning in, turning down the volume of the external stimuli that are constantly happening all around us, turning up the internal stimuli of what is my soul saying, needing, and what is being spoken to me and through me in this moment, in each and every moment, so that you can come back to that sense of who you are. This voice, the intuition, is also your union with your highest self. And it is I say union because what it feels like to me in my body is when my highest self is embodied in the physical form. When we are one, I am most connected to my intuition. And that is the effortless flow. That is the flow where I am receiving from spirit and integrating, opening, and tuned into that language, and then acting on it effortlessly, without thought, without resistance, without overwhelm or pushing the messages away. It's a state of deep presence. It's really creating the space inside of our physical body to be able to allow the highest self to integrate in and to speak through us and to act through us and to share that language with the world. And through the way that we speak, in the way that we show up, in the way that we embody and hold that presence, that essence of our highest self, and allow that to be received by the world around us. That is the full integration. And the way that I think about it is that in terms of our highest self and how that relates to who we are, I think of it as we have three selves, and one is the highest self, one is our ego, and one is the witness. So our highest self is the space of union between the divine and our in the way that we are showing up in the world in the physical. It's our space of union that links our intuition and the way that we're able to live in the world when we are in full surrender, when we are in full surrender to the guidance that exists within us. And then we have the ego, which is the conditioned part of our being. It is the part of our mind that is trying to protect us constantly. And the ego is constantly making judgments in order to be able to sort information and put them in boxes so that we don't have to consciously use our energy to interpret the world around us. By making these judgments, by making these assumptions, by putting things in boxes and categories, it's making it easier for us to live and be safe in the world. So say, for example, this isn't true, by the way, but say, for example, my mom treated me in a way that was really like mean or condescending. And based on the way that she spoke to me in a certain instance, say, for example, we were in the grocery store and she spoke down to me and was yelling at me and making me feel small. My mom would never do this, just saying. Linda is a fucking angel. But say, for example, she did. And then now Allie is 28 years old. She goes to the grocery store. She sees a small child being spoken to by her mother in the same way that I was spoken to by my mother. I will immediately make that association and try, and there's no separation from that. I'm immediately brought back to that same emotional state. So it is our sense of our ego. It's our sense of conditioning. It's what we've learned in the world based on the way that we've been treated, based on our experiences. And because of that, that creates triggers and that brings us back to certain emotional states that we've experienced in the past, because that is what we've learned. And the reason that we make those associations is to keep us safe, because when we feel unsafe in the world, we need to identify the situations and conditions around us that created that sense, that lack of safety, so that we can be safe moving forward. And that can also, it can show up it shows up all of the time. It's deeply connected to our subconscious mind, because all of these programs that our ego learns and identifies with and creates a sense of identity and a sense of self for who we are, and makes these categories of association in our life, that it is stored inside of our body. It's stored inside of our subconscious mind, because it is here to protect us. And so that we don't have to be thinking about it consciously all of the time. And with that, that's good and bad, right? Because it's constantly making judgments. There's a lot of negative self-talk, and it wants to keep us safe. So that is the conditioned part of us. And it's deeply connected to the subconscious. And there has to be, in my opinion, a lot of awareness in relation to our ego in order to allow ourselves to expand, because our conditioned patterns and our subconscious programs will run the way that we show up in this world if we don't bring awareness and consciousness to them in order to reprogram and allow our highest self to be the one who drives the car, to be the one who runs the show, to be the one who makes the decision. Because if the ego is making the decision, we are always going to be safe. And we are always going to be afraid of the unknown. And we talked about this a little bit before. But this entire course of connecting to our intuition is about learning how to be comfortable as we step into the unknown, because intuition is the darkness. Intuition is the lunar energy. It is the unknown. It is the quote unquote feminine energy. And we have to learn how to become comfortable in the state of, I don't fucking know. And this is uncomfortable. And we're going to do it anyways, because I know the voice of my intuition and I know what it feels like when he, she, they speak to me. And with the comfort in the knowledge and the awareness of what that sounds like, I now know how to choose differently. And usually those decisions are not aligned with the voice of the ego. So there's a third voice. The third voice, which is hugely related to our sense of awareness, is the witness. And the witness is who we are in meditation. The witness is who we are in each and every moment. And that version of us is most present when we are in a state of presence, when we are observing, when we are witnessing the world around us, when we are witnessing the different parts of us that want to come out and speak and play and may sometimes yell. And it is necessary for us to be in a state of witnessing ourselves, because that is also the state of non-judgment. That's the state of not having deeply rooted emotions. That is the state of acknowledgement. I acknowledge that my ego in this moment is the one who was triggered. Okay, I see you. I see the Allie ego. I see you, and I acknowledge that you're trying to keep me safe in this situation. And then we can go a little bit deeper if we choose to say, what patterns in my life have presented the necessity for me to feel unsafe in this situation to trigger my ego? And then from that space of awareness, we can choose differently, but we have to be aware of the ego in order to even know how to connect to our intuition. We have to be aware of the ego and the programs and the triggers and the emotions and the sense of attachment to what we've always known. We have to be able to see those programs in order to uncover them and see that when we create the space within ourselves by removing the ego, by allowing the ego to melt away, what lies beneath all of this is our connection to our intuition. And that is really the space of being the witness and seeing the ego, seeing the highest self, and then saying, ego, I love you, thank you, acknowledging that, sending love to that energy. And then through that love, that energy can dissolve. And when that energy dissolves, our highest self remains. And then we can choose the highest self. And that's my understanding of how it works in my life, in my body. And it has changed everything for me to be able to see life in this way. And of course, I'm human. And that's one thing I want to little precursor here. Each and every one of us are human. So we're not always going to be choosing the path of the highest self. We can't. Like, we're human, and our subconscious mind consists of 90% of our mental capacity, of our behaviors, our actions, and our thinking. And 90%, 10% of that is conscious. And our ego is deeply connected to the subconscious, remember? So that is, I know that there are so many pictures of like the iceberg and all you see is the tip, but then the subconscious is like this huge, it's the bottom half of the iceberg where it's everything. And when you start to realize that and observe that in your life, you realize the work is never done, number one. And there are going to be so many times where we act out of ego, and that is okay. We have to learn how to say, it is okay, I am human, and come from a space of non-judgment, because non-judgment is the energy of unconditional love, which will inherently guide us back to our highest self. It will inherently guide us back to our highest self. It's a space of unconditional love, which is the path, in my experience, in my opinion, to bringing us home to our intuition. And that means radical self-acceptance. That means meeting yourself where you are, not looking at yourself through the eyes of hate and judgment, and telling yourself that you're not good enough as you are, because in this moment, you have to cultivate a sense of acceptance, radical self-acceptance, which means unconditional, which means even if you're fucking up in every way imaginable in your own mind, you have to learn how to look in the mirror and say, I still love you. I still love you. Because I can teach you all of these things about intuition. I can teach you about the highest self, the ego, the witness, unconditional love. But if you don't learn how to cultivate that for yourself, these teachings are not going to be able to integrate fully into your heart. And you deserve to receive what you fucking paid for, number one. And way more than that, you deserve to receive all of the love that you give to others. You deserve to receive all of the magic that comes through living a life that is devoted to intuition, if that feels aligned to you. But the magic and the miracles that you will experience if you choose to listen to your intuition even just a little bit more, in your own way, in your own time. But you deserve those miracles. You deserve that magic. You deserve the love that lives on the other side of self-judgment. And we all do. We all do. And I'm still learning this as well. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I've realized that no matter how much love I give myself, judgment will still remain. My ego will still remain. And it often comes out in moments where I'm tired, I don't have the energy for this shit, or I'm triggered, and it is okay. And the healing that lives in these experiences is choosing to meet yourself with love when you do act out in ways that may not be serving to you. And that is the energy of love, is what breaks the patterns of self-sabotage, of egoic triggering, of egoic, like when your ego comes out. Unconditional love is what breaks that, and what guides you back to your highest self, what guides you back to your intuition. And it has to be felt and integrated in your heart, in your body, in your soul. So that is my invitation for you as you move through this course, to meet yourself with as much love and grace and gentleness, and simply begin to observe. Begin to observe the moments, the situations, the environments that provoke your ego, that really get it riled up. And in those moments, you often feel heightened, like your nervous system is heightened. You're in a state of fight or flight. There's often like this sense of tension in the shoulders. It's like your stomach rises, and you're really detached from your physical body. It's a lot of tension. It's a lot of overwhelm. It's like there's something that's cut off between your connection to source or to spirit in your physical body, and like it's like your soul leaves your body and you're just like, what the fuck, and it's overwhelm, it's anger, it's frustration, and it's being removed from your physical body. Because when you are connected to your highest self, there will be a sense of warmth, of groundedness, of ease, of peace. And we have to be in our parasympathetic nervous system to allow our highest self to speak to us, which means that we have to allow ourselves to be in a state of rest and digest. We have the two branches of the autonomic nervous system: sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. That is what we often feel when the ego is triggered. And then because it's these deep emotional ties and roots that live in our conditioning that make us feel unsafe. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. And it's also where we allow ourselves to heal. And it's also where we allow ourselves to connect to spirit. And we have to be fully in our bodies and feel safe in our bodies to connect to spirit. And that's why I often talk about how spirituality is a privilege, because not every body feels safe in their body. And to have the opportunity to cultivate a relationship with spirit requires a sense of safety first and foremost. And if that's not being met, it's really, really hard to do this work. So, number one, thank you for being here. And number two, I hope that you feel extreme gratitude for yourself and your path that it has brought you here to be able to have that sense of safety in any way, shape, or form for whatever span of time. It doesn't have to be in each and every moment you're human, but to have even just the slightest inkling to know that you deserve to feel that is a really, really beautiful thing. All right. So I think that wraps up the lecture on intuition. And one other thing I want to say about that before we hop off is there are two areas, two centers, two chakra centers that I will be drawing attention to specifically as we move along in relationship to our intuition. One is the third eye, and we're going to have an entire lecture on that. And before getting into the other one real quick, I just want to say that the heart is the bridge between heaven and earth. So the 1, 2, and 3, our throat, our third eye, and our crown are chakras that are connected more to heaven. They are more connected to like the ethereal, to spirituality, to openness, and to divinity. And then the lower 3 chakras, the solar plexus, the sacral, which is right around your belly button, and our root, which is right the pelvis bone, those 3 are in the physical world. So the connection to spirit can live in so many different ways, and we can receive in so many different ways in different parts of our bodies and different chakra centers. It's really up to us and the language that spirit is speaking to us that only we can understand. And the second chakra center that we often talk about in relation to intuition is our sacral, which is our gut response, right? So I'm sure you've heard the phrase like, listen to your gut. And when it comes to the sacral response, listen to your gut, that is more of a physicalized sensation. It's connected to our sense of safety. And the physical energy is that direct portal to keep you safe in the physical world, in the surrounding world, in your reality. And then our third eye is more connected to our union with divinity and the way that God is speaking to us so that we can be in union with our highest self. And it's more of an ethereal energy. That's something that I've learned within myself. And also, as I mentioned, it really depends on how you receive information. It can come through your solar plexus. It can come through your heart. It can come through your throat. It can come through your crown, and it can come through your root. It's tailored to you. And there's a lot of, in my experience and what I've learned and what I've seen doing energy healing as well, there's a lot of information out there in the world that says that we receive intuitive information in just one area. And that's usually connected to the third eye. I personally have seen in energy healing sessions, the more that I've studied like the energy body, a lot of us have a dominant chakra, the one that we are meant to live our lives and share our purpose and share our expression of our souls through. Mine is connected to my heart and to my solar plexus. And I find that, yes, intuition comes to me through my third eye and to my sacral. And also, I have to be in my heart-centered space in order to open myself up to receive any sort of intuitive messages. My heart and my solar plexus. My solar plexus is the space of empowerment. So I have to really be connected to like the way that the sun shines through me and the way that I am in my power. I have to be in that space and grounded in that energy, which opens up everything else. And as I open up everything else, then I allow myself to be connected to my intuition. So through knowing that key of myself, through studying myself and seeing how energy works, I've learned, holy shit, this is like the key that just turn, or like the light switch when I'm connected to my power and in the energy of love. And when I put the light switch on, everything else opens and boom, highest self drops in. So I encourage you to think about like, oh, for me, what is this center? What is this part of me that when this opens, when I am in this energy, everything else opens? Just food for thought. Okay. And I just wanted to debunk that a little because I feel that that teaching doesn't resonate with me. And I find it to be very important and like non-negotiable for us to cultivate our own relationship with our energy body to see what it is that brings us closer to our intuition, and not just like a general prescriptive formula, what it is that brings us closer to our intuition as individual souls. Beautiful work today, integrating and listening. Thank you so much for being here. Let's take a deep breath into the heart space. Feeling into our worth, holding the breath at the top, letting that worth circulate. Exhale, release. One more time, deep breath into the heart. Holding at the top. Allowing ourselves to be met with unconditional love, and exhaling, releasing that unconditional love out into the universe, out into the environment around you. Opening your eyes. Beautiful. All right, my loves, I will see you soon. Mwah. Treat yourself with extreme gentleness, drink water, and water. It just looked so good when it was like floating around like that. Okay, take care of yourselves, meet yourself with love, and just begin witnessing yourself. Begin acknowledging how it is that you show up in the world and what parts of you come out at different times, and when you feel connected to your highest self and when you feel in your ego, and cultivating a relationship deeper with unconditional love to meet you every single step of the way. And that will guide you through this journey.